All right, guys, so I thought I'd just make a short but hopefully helpful video addressing something that I can't really call it a pet peeve of mine, but something that I've noticed that quite a few coaches online, and I've seen other just people in general take this advice, and I see that it just doesn't quite carry over in reality. And I totally get it, right? We can sometimes use coaching tools as a way to teach something, and that to kind of simplify it so it's a little bit easier to grasp, and then eventually that thing becomes the thing that it's meant to be, if that makes sense. And what I'm talking about really specifically right now is how we teach people to pivot or to turn in their punches. Now, personally, I don't think pivot is a great word. I don't think pivot is a great idea. And I don't think you have to teach it this way. I think there's a better way, which is basically the way it's actually done. And if we start doing that from day one, then our students are gonna move a lot better, a lot sooner. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. So let's just say, we'll start off with the jab cross, right? So I've got hopefully you can see my feet. We all get the jab, right? We step out with our jab, making sure we're nice and balanced. But then what I see people do for the cross and how it's taught is generally pivot. You know, you hear analogies like squish the bug, put out the cigarette, right? And I just don't think this is the case. What I see most of the time, especially right, when we're moving forward into our attacks, is that foot's actually gonna move. So I'm actually gonna pick my foot up an inch and maybe an inch forward, depending on how broad I'm stepping. I'm actually gonna drop it into position. So if I'm throwing a jab cross, 1, 2, right, 1, 2, I'm actually stepping into that position, okay? You know, watch someone fight and actually slow down. The amount of times they actually pivot, it's not often, all right? I don't think I've seen it, okay? But feel free, comment the video, prove me wrong. Like, I'm happy to be corrected, all right? But when someone's actually moving forward, right, we're stepping on every single punch. Same thing I see when learning the lead hook. This, right? Again, my foot isn't planted and pivoting. I'm actually shifting my foot forward. So if my target's out there, I'm shifting my foot forward and I'm turning it into that position. Now, I might not be demonstrating it really well right now. I've actually got a bit of a busted knee. So any weight on that leg is actually quite excruciating, but I want to turn that foot in, drop my weight, and then come back. I don't pivot it on the spot. And in fact, pivoting, it causes unnecessary friction, right? It's going to actually slow my movement down. But if I drop the foot into position, it's going to be way more effective and efficient. Now, one more other thing that I think is a little bit bad or why we should not be teaching the cross like that is, and I've seen this a few times, we step out on the jab and the person throws the cross and now their weight's going forward, and instead of adjusting that foot and maintaining their balance, because we want to keep that space between the feet, right? I step out, I want to adjust so that I've got that balance. If I keep my foot out there, my stance is going to be too broad, and what generally happens is the person loses their balance or they're leaning too far forward, all right? So if I take a nice broad jab and I want to follow it up, that foot actually needs to lift up and plant rather than stay where it is and pivot, okay? So sometimes we can just have some blind spots. We might not notice those things. This is something I've really just become sensitive to the last while. So I hope that you can use this and it can help either with your coaching, or if you're a student and you notice that, wait, I'm just pivoting, I'm not actually stepping to my shots, you can make those corrections and improve your overall Muay Thai.